Yeah, that
Hang
would be
on. Well,
great.
that should help.
That would,
Well, let's try this again. So if we look at the Facebook and if we look at the YouTube, hey everybody, we've been on here for just a minute. This is me trying this out here with Mike Barron. We're talking comics. This is my first time using Restream. Is it working? And then I wonder, let me look at that again. Yeah, that looks like that's the yeah, that should be the. It says that it's streaming. That should be the Facebook page that I mentioned, facebook.com forward
yeah, it
slash.
is.
Okay, good, good. All right, and then it should be streaming somewhere, some way, somehow on my. Yeah, it shows that it is on my YouTube channel. So yeah, all right. Well, hey everybody, sorry for that like weirdness, but Mike was seeing if it was actually working, and I didn't have the thing going like it should be. This is my first time doing like Restream personally. So BL Blankenship, Ben, whatever. And I'm here with Mike Barron. We both have written a bunch of books, a bunch of comics, all kinds of stuff. Um, so yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and talk about that. I've got a little Amazon thing that you can click. I'm pointing in the opposite direction from my end. That's my Amazon store, and then we've got the Nexus link over there to the side that you can see that'll take you over onto Mike's page. And I've got a neat little thing to where I can just like click and I can change that ad or what have you. You see, so there's another thing. There's the Florida man, all that stuff, but it'll take you to his store and you can find all kinds of goodies there. Man, so anyway, I'd asked you a question before you saw if this was even working or not. And somebody scanned the QR code.
That's
Um,
great.
Thank you.
You
For
wanted to know what's the best way to publicize your book, right?
Yeah, is it better to be in stores, online, both? What do you think the virtues are of being in comic shops? Because when that just makes it feel more real to me when I go into a shop. And you've obviously had books both online and in stores.
Well, I think that the most important thing is publicity and to get a large following. And the best way to do that is to have a live stream like this that you do regularly, at least once a week. Some of the most successful creators I know stream three, four, 5 times a week and say controversial things. I hate to tell you that, but that's how you get a following. For example, Eric July, uh, who heads the Rippaverse, for whom I write, Eric has been on YouTube for years. And I don't know what he's been saying, but he's got an enormous following. I have a feeling that he's a conservative. I know he's a devout Christian,
He's a libertarian.
a
He's
libertarian,
yeah, taxes theft. Hey, amen.
and people are interested in that because it's a rarity these days. And so he had a huge following even before he launched the company. And that was part of the secret to his success. It's also owes to the novelty of his characters, the new characters he's offering, a new universe. Uh, but the same holds true for Comicsgate guys, and a lot of those guys were hugely popular with the big two before they quit, and because of that, they have followings in the tens of thousands, and some of them crowdfund on their own websites and regularly raise six figures. But it's too late for us to go back in time and find ourselves writing an extremely popular book for one of the big two. So the next best thing is to podcast regularly, and I'm not crazy about doing that because I'm not an online personality. I never have been, but you go on the air and you be controversial. And you don't have to be controversial about comics. You can be controversial about movies or music, and that appeals to me. And I've been thinking about doing that. For instance, you can say Uh, Daniel Craig was the best James Bond. Daniel Craig was the worst James Bond. Uh, uh, Shit like gets people stirred up, and they'll write
And
in,
you
"Oh
pull them
no,
in
no."
because they're interested in it. And I had John Delaraz say to me back when he said just his unsolicited advice there. I think it's good advice. He said you just talk about things that people are interested in, and while you're talking about them, you're like, by the way, I have a book. And you know, I know there's a lot of platforms that are built on discontent because people think it's going to be all fiery and everything when they're talking about that. You know, I think that it builds credibility when you say that something, when you're not just saying that everything is good or everything is bad. But I mean, I think when you say something's bad, move on. Why would I want to keep watching a show that's bad, even if I said, hey, I'm making money off of this? If it's really trash, if I really think it's that bad, just like stop watching the show, say, hey, I tried it, I didn't like it. I'm that way with reading, I'm that way with watching shows, you know, whatever. Um, but yeah, you know that there's people that say like everything that like DC, for example, makes sucks. What are the odds? It doesn't. Everything that they make, there might be something that they make that it's like, well, I don't like that, but then they make something that's like in another world better. And it's who wrote it and all that.
Are you familiar with Sturgeon's Law?
No.
Theodore Sturgeon was a great science fiction writer. Sturgeon's Law says 90% of everything is crap. And he's right.
Mm,
I mean, look at TV or movies, music. 90% of it is crap, or we'd like everything. And
yeah.
that's particularly true of comics.
You know, there's different styles too with comics because you know you can write it like and I prefer to write this way. It's just the way that I like think. But you can write it like it's a series, like on television, like if you're watching Smallville. And so it's like a full mini story within a series of stories, or you can write it like it's a soap opera, which you know not a lot happens but it's building to something, so the things that happen are important because they're stepping stones to where you're going. So I mean there's a lot of stuff, and I mean and the main thing is just to get people hooked. You know, it's do they care about the characters? I mean, you write well, and when I read Nexus, you know, I care about the character, I want to know what happens next. But unfortunately there's a lot of stuff that you pick up and read and you don't feel that way. And um people are going to fall off. People are going to leave. There might be somebody that's like, I'm so invested in this. I've already bought 2 or 3 of these. I really think it's going someplace. My mother sat there and she watched and I love the movie Army of Darkness. You know, it's part of the Evil Dead trilogy. And she said I kept thinking it was going to get better, but that movie is just so stupid. I love it, but yeah, you know, it's funny, but people do that with things.
Well, I think also the other important thing is put out a superior product. And by that, I mean a story that hooks the reader and makes him care so that he can't wait to happen next. And I've said this 1,000 times, but it's worth saying again, and that is what happens next is the most important question in fiction, because if the reader doesn't care, he's not going to turn the page. Well, how do you make the reader care? There are a million ways. Here are the first three. Number one, a fascinating personality. That's why Sherlock Holmes is the most popular fictional character in history. Number two, a fascinating situation. That's why the Jurassic Park movies keep knocking it out of the park. Number three, a seductive narrative voice. It's harder to do in comics than in straight prose, but you can do it. And by the way, I think this is a good time to mention that we have 3 days left to fund my Sherlock Holmes meets Captain Nemo graphic novel. It's done. It's brilliant. It's on my website at baroncomics.com. Watch the trailer. You'll be hooked.
Man, it looks awesome. It's got like some steampunk elements and everything in that, and I mean, and I just totally love that. But you would figure that as much things as I've written that are set in the 1800s, I've been in anthologies with people, and you know, I would write Western horror, Western horror, Western horror, which is really a subsect of Weird West. Uh, but you know, I'd write them. People are like, I've never heard of that. And so then I would just go through this enormous list of stuff that exists that is quote unquote Western horror. Just bloody, gritty, whatever. It's set in a certain time frame. I don't mean that it's written in the United States, because people say that when they say East West. I mean that it's like cowboy or Civil War or colonial or frontier, that it's that, but that it's probably like intensely violent, sometimes supernatural, but sometimes just bad people, killing people. And that time in history, and there's a lot of times, I think that it's easy to have a really gritty, dark thing. Native Americans were being slaughtered in the name of manifest destiny, all kinds of things, the American Civil War, which the more you study that, the more that it's like you look at all the things of the world. It's like that was a war that didn't necessarily have to happen, but there's a few of those. It would have been a rival nation, that you would have had going on. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff with that, but it's sad. The whole thing is I had people that fought on both sides of that war. I've studied it like intently, and it's interesting. It's interesting history, a lot of war crimes, all kinds of stuff.
Have you seen Bone Tomahawk?
I love it. Yeah, yeah, I've seen it. I really like Brimstone a lot. That's one of my favorite Western horror movies. Dakota Fanning is in it, and her dad is a psychopath, hypocrite preacher that wants to marry his own daughter, and she escapes, and then she gets sold as a prostitute, and so he's like coming after her the whole movie. And it's good. It's really dark. I like The Nightingale a lot. I call that Western horror, but it's in Australia. So the woman's Irish, which makes her like
I
the
saw
trashiest.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, very good movie.
yeah. I like all those kinds of movies. I like, is it The Keeping Room, The Waiting Room, some kind of thing like that. It's these three women in the South, and they have these guys from the North that are coming along, and they're kind of scouting the place out and wreaking havoc on them. So they're fighting against these soldier guys, like two of them or two or three of them, that want to like rape them and kill them and all that stuff. So the town's pretty well isolated because so many people are off defending the South, because the South was being invaded by the North. That's the way that worked. The Northern soldiers went into the South, so they were defending their homes. So there were like women and slaves and people, and it was scarce who was left there. That's good for horror. Anytime that you've got like the neighbors aren't around, you're isolated, you're really kind of defenseless. That's ideal for writing horror, regardless of what the situation, because it puts your back against the wall and you're just in a bad way. But yeah,
Yeah.
I love all that, man. So back to the shops and everything. What do you think about that? And obviously you said that, if you have a name that means something, that sells from having like an online presence or what have you, that's going to do a whole lot more when you're on the shelves.
Well, I've had a lot of good luck and a lot of bad luck, and I'm surprised to find myself as busy as I am these days, and I'm grateful for it. Yeah, I would like to do more, but I'm not very tech wise, and I do some live streams occasionally. Like usually we do on Thursday mornings on X. My friend Blaine Pardo and I, he's my writing partner. We write a series of fillers called Tenure. The first one will be out. Uh, it's been printed. They sent me copies. Uh, it's about a Portland professor of history who refuses to use a student's preferred pronoun and how it destroys his life until he's absolutely crushed and has nothing to live for, at which point he says they got to pay. And it's a classic American vigilante with a modern spin.
I like vigilante stuff. You have somebody that they're broken or whatever, they've got nothing to lose. I mean, that's what you had with the Punisher.
Hang
He
on one second,
Good.
BO.
Hey everybody, so this is BL Blankenship going ahead testing all this stuff out for the first time. By the way, this isn't some kind of fake background. This is really the room I'm in. It's called the Bend In. But yeah, I'm going ahead and just checking comics with Mike Barron. This is Restream. This is my first time using it all by my lonesome. uh, and everything. Yeah, it's super super friendly. There was a podcaster who was on YouTube the other night, and I thought, oh, he's got like a community thing where you thank you for scanning that, by the way. Um, he's got this new thing that's going on and he wants people to come on there. Well, really what it was is it was a link to this, and I'm like, ooh, that could be even neater. So if you're using Restream, like the free version, you can do like 20 hours a week. So we're just going to do this for a little while. I just asked, hey, who wants to get on? And Mike is a super nice guy. God bless you, Mike. Thank you for how good you are to me. I really appreciate you. I was looking for a comic, y'all, that was out of print of his, and he nicely sent me a signed copy of it, and that meant so much. And I liked how that series, The Next Nexus, ended, dude. That was so cool because I thought before we had you on the iShook thing, I needed to read some of your stuff. Went down to the comic shop and I found parts 1 and 2, and it was like, but how
We're
does
going to
it
try and
end?
reprint those next year. And
That's
by
so
the
cool.
way, this sign on the right, yeah, Nexus Scourge autographed is available. It's not free though. I don't know what that
Yeah,
zero is doing.
yeah, a bunch of them say that. So yeah, that they're not free. We're just gonna say that it says that because you need it's invaluable to you. You all need to get these. But yeah, um, no, man, I like that. I like the whole vigilante thing. Death Wish. I mean, not so much the new one, but like any of that type of stuff. You've got
Dirty
somebody that was
Harry.
broken. Yeah, and that's what the Punisher was, or what he was
Yes,
supposed to
absolutely.
be. His
Classic
family
American
was
vigilante.
murdered.
That's
His
what Private American is.
Yeah, his family was murdered. His whole life was ruined. It was in shambles, and he was going to make them pay. There's an old, well, it's not really old, but there's a Western. It's by a guy named Dusty Rhodes. He passed away now. His kids take care of it. And it's called Death Rides a Pale Horse. And I like that a lot because the guy's terminally ill. He looks like it. He's all like sunken faced. And Long John is his name. And so he's going to die, and he thinks, I want to make a bunch of money to support my family. I wish they would make a movie out of this because it would be awesome. So he's like, I'm going to become a bounty hunter because if I die, it'll just be less excruciating and not drag out as long. And he's taking, oh, I know the name of it, but I can't think of what it is. It just describes it as an amber liquid, but what it is it's liquid opium. There's a name, laudanum. A lot of them, yeah, they have it in the UK. It's normal for them to do that there. I'm not a big fan of like big pharma and the FDA and all here. If you went to Mexico, you could probably get something like way better. I know people say fentanyl or whatever's in it, but I don't trust the FDA or big pharma. But yeah, he hunts down all of these people and everything. He gets a little bit of a hard time from people because he's half Native American, half white in it, and they talk about that. But he's like, he tracks people down. He gets the fastest horse he can get, and he's just a tough guy. And if he dies, he dies. But it's got a good relationship between him and his wife, and everything like that. And it's nice. It's a good Western.
I have a friend who writes westerns. His name's Peter Brandvold. Have you heard of him?
I'm not.
You're not drinking pickle juice, are you?
No, I'm drinking unsweet tea.
All
Yeah,
right, good.
I'm a big tea drinker.
Peter's very prolific. He writes 6 or 7 novels a year,
Thank you.
and he's very
Somebody else scanned a barcode, by the way. That's man. I don't know if they're scanning mine or yours. It doesn't say. We've got the Nexus up. We've got my Amazon store. I mean, just have at it. You
I
know,
wouldn't know. I wouldn't know how to scan a barcode. I have one.
you use your cell phone and you
I
use the
know.
thing. Yeah,
I,
okay.
it's just that I I've never scanned. Well, I did try once, but I was unable to make it work. I guess you had to download an app. I was in a grocery store and I said, "Well, I scanned this and it's not working." They said, "Well, you got to download the Safeway app or whatever it is."
So you were talking about your friend that's a Western writer, and we've both written Westerns. Now the only Western comic that I've had is discontinued. Zorro Kills. Number one, because Zorro is trademarked, and I didn't know that at the time. I was like, oh, it's not copyright. Well, it's trademarked, so it might as well be. And I was like, yeah, you can't have that. But he tracks down a bunch of child trafficking pedophiles. He slashes them up, maims them, kills them. He castrates one man in the middle of the street and says, "If you die, you die." I wrote the Zorro that I wanted to write. I wish that it was like what may end up happening, and and I'll talk to them first because I like them. I like Zorro Inc. That's Zorro.com, by the way. I like them. They've been super nice to me. They were going to have me write a novel with another company for Zorro. It's just like I didn't feel like I was in the place to do that. I'm enjoying writing comics right now. I've written so many novels. Um, you know, but I wrote the Zorro that I wanted to write. He's like a proto Batman. He had some nodes of the Punisher. He wears all black because he's going to be there in the darkness. He's hiding in the shadows. You need people to be afraid of him. And I was like, if he's going to kill people, I want them, like the audience, to justify it. So it's like, what can I have them do? Well, they're trafficking children. So yeah, all the kids are fine except for like PTSD. But I like westerns. You like westerns too. You've written Bronze Star. I read it. That's a good book. You said number 2 is coming out too, didn't you?
Well, it's not soon, but Patrick has already wrapped up the pencils for the first issue, of course, and he has to ink them. But he's inked a number of pages already. We hope to launch that in the spring.
That's cool. That's very cool. I like that. Yeah, and that's awesome. And he can't have silver. It has to do with werewolf stuff.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
we
that.
don't. No, the werewolf, the sheriff is gone.
Oh,
We have some new delights for you.
oh, that's awesome. Very good. So you had a Lovecraftian thing going on in the other one. Is this going to go a little Lovecraft, or is it just different kinds? Can you say what any of it is? Is it just supernatural? What can you
all,
say? What do you want to say?
all I can say is that these are xenomorphs endemic to the Pacific Northwest, and that the creature from the mine will return.
Awesome. That's awesome. So you get that dark looming, what is it kind of presence. Will there be blood?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I figured. But yeah, I like that. Man, I mean, I've just always loved westerns. I told Benny with I Shook, and I wonder if he likes westerns or not. I said, man, I would try to make like a western or whatever, but he's just like every other point of history. Um, so these western books that I write, all my God Walks on Dark Hills and all, by the way, really, really disparaging, dark, I mean extreme horror stuff, y'all, as violent as anything could be. I say that it is as a disclaimer. If that's your thing, you'll absolutely love it. If not, probably don't want to go that direction. You would like the thing Jody Walls Rides Again, which was Josie Wells Rides Again, until I saw that was copyright. That's like a late western. It's normal. And I kind of got some of those thoughts about like Don't Breathe. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but like they messed with the wrong guy. That like he's the baddest man on the planet. The 1930s are interesting because you had people alive from the American Civil War time, and then the world was like totally changing. Um, I don't think people think about that a lot, but I think that's neat. It looks like now, man. Um, you've got all these kids that are walking around and like, they don't remember when like Amazon was only like a rainforest. The internet thing is like existed all their life. They don't know what a rotary phone is. Um, I was born in '81, so I had like an Atari 2600 and all that. I mean, it's you know how the world's changed. Like every decade, it's crazy.
I got to bail on you, Ben.
Okay, man, I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you for helping me test this out and everything. It's been awesome. Y'all buy his books, check them out, read them. You will be glad that you did. Mike Barron, he's got a wide array of stuff for you to see. Again, is that baronbooks.com?
BaronComics.com.
baroncomics.com. Check it out, y'all. Thanks so much. I'm
You
going to
bet.
go ahead and kill the stream.
All right.
All
See
right.
you later.
Bye-bye.